The source is here at Beamsville District Secondary School to participate in a program called Shakespearience. Through it, the students are learning to understand Shakespeare in a whole new way.
One thing you don't like about Shakespeare, anything?
I don't understand it.
This is what we hear everywhere we go. Ladies and gentlemen.
You know, if you just get their heads wrapped around the notion that at the end of the day, Shakespeare is just people talking to each other. That's all it is. It's just people talking to one another. You can zero through that language, you can navigate your way through that language, and you can understand the huge emotions that are at play. 95% of the language that Shakespeare uses in his plays are words we use today. So we help steer them towards that, away from the more complicated, confusing stuff, and they just get it.
And I know that it's important for students to have a hands-on experiential approach. How do you do that with Shakespeare?
What we're about is getting them up on their feet, and my naked weapon is out. Whoa, stop, wait a minute, what are you saying? My naked weapon is out. Well, if somebody is saying that, that implies you're drawing a sword, right? It's basic stuff like that that helps them understand. Shakespeare, in Shakespeare's day, 99.9% of his audience was illiterate. They couldn't read, they couldn't write. And Shakespeare never thought these plays were going to be read. He always created them with the idea that they would be presented on stage. That's how they would be digested. So we just go back to that. And again, 21 years later, it seems to be working that if you just approach them with an actor's eyes, with an actor's perspective, with an actor's tools, and just see them as two characters, people talking to one another, the language problem just melts away and they become immediately accessible and relevant.
In fair Verona where we lay our scene.
In fair Verona where we laid our scene.
Two households both alike in dignity.
Two households both alike in dignity.
What do you want the kids to get from it?
I think get from it is to start to understand what the text is like, but most importantly, just to reduce their fear. So many kids just go, I don't understand it. It's too hard. And it's not. You just need some tools. You need some code, some things to figure out what he's doing there. When that opens up, it's amazing to watch their eyes light up, their imaginations start. They get the stuff. They start doing stuff. Just naturally comes out of it. It's a very freeing experience.
What did you learn about Shakespeare today that you didn't know before?
Well, I enjoy Shakespeare and I like reading the plays. I don't typically understand them, which is what we were trying to fix at the workshop. They said to be able to understand it, you have to look through actor's eyes, which I never have thought about it that way, which is cool. Like my English teachers have never said specifically that, so that's very cool. And when we were doing the exercise with the scene from Romeo and Juliet, I tried to do what they said and look through the actor's eyes, and that made it easier to read the lines, so that was cool.
Do you think now when you read Shakespeare, you'll look at it differently?
Definitely, yeah. I haven't done Hamlet yet because my English class is this semester, so I'm definitely going to try to read it the way they were saying to, and I think it'll be easier to understand going into it after learning all the things that we did today.
Now, you have endorsements from teachers. You also have endorsements from professional actors. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, Kenneth Branagh, Sir Kenneth Branagh, who's very famous for all of the Shakespeare adaptations he's done. Colin Feore, who I mentioned, is very supportive. Drake was a student of mine, an acting student of mine, and I am trying to get him engaged in Shakespearience. I'm trying to get a testimonial from him because I think he would have even more of an impact on the students than perhaps Kenneth Branagh and Colin Feore would. And I think what we're doing, what he's doing with language and what Shakespeare is doing with language, it was kind of the same. So I think if I could get him into a school, that would be very, very impressive.
To bring this enjoyable and educational workshop to your school, visit Shakespearience.ca. In Beamsville, for The Source, I'm Brenda Schultz.